Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast. I am your host, Mike Merrill, and today we are sitting down with Jimmy Gabbard, who is the Information Technology Manager at Potter Concrete, and Austin Chiapuzio, a Solutions Architect at Flare Data Systems. We're going to discuss how Potter Concrete is enjoying the benefits of live field data and a tracking system that they have developed and customized, leveraging mobile and cloud technology on smart devices. Really looking forward to the conversation today with Jimmy and Austin, and also this fresh approach and content, our episodes. So we're glad to have you guys with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So before we jump into the conversation, can you gentlemen give the listeners a little bit of a quick introduction of yourselves and maybe your experience? And Jimmy, if you want to go first, and then Austin, you can go after.
Sure. I was born and raised in Chicago, moved to Dallas, early 90s, 94. Got involved in IT mid 90s, started out as a PC technician, went to a systems admin, junior admin, worked as a network admin, and then I'm in the role now here at Potter Concrete as the IT manager. Been in the industry for over 20 years and seen a lot. I remember the days of server rooms being full of modems. So that goes way back. So that's kind of a little bio for me.
Great. How about you, Austin?
Spent most of my life here in the Dallas, Texas area. Went to college at UT Austin, Hook Horns. Started working at Flare Data Systems as an intern back in high school. My dad actually worked for the same company, so I helped him out during summer breaks, spring breaks, things like that, specifically doing voice over IP. That's when I got the glorious opportunity to meet Mr. Gabbard here. I helped install the phone system for him 14 years ago when you guys moved to the new building.
It's a little young club.
I was 16 years old. Went to college, came back, did Cisco voice over IP for several years. Then Flare Data Systems opened a analytics division. Being the math nerd I am, immediately jumped on that opportunity and been doing analytics ever since.
Wow, it's a very technical background. Good for you. It sounds like Jimmy's aligned with the right kind of guy to accomplish the work they've got to do.
We'll see.
Not sure. Jury's still out. Okay, even after 14 years, huh?
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, so one of the most important aspects of construction and the industry today really is the technology that companies are leveraging. So can you tell us a little bit about this project that you guys have created and how you're utilizing web solutions and mobile technology to help your construction business?
So a little bit of history of how it kind of came about. So I've been working with Flare Data Systems, 15 years. And so we had a customer appreciation, actually Flare Data had a customer appreciation night. And so my wife and I, we went, and I seen Austin over there at his little booth, his little click booth. And so he walks over and, I hadn't seen him in a while. And so I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And then he's talking about analytics. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, my wife does analytics for DHS. She uses Power BI. And so, of course, they started talking nerd. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. And so then they started getting kind of detailed as far as, the data they're pulling and, what they're able to see and, how their users are utilizing it and making business decisions. And I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder I wonder if it can help us, with our, saving money, and can it see this and can it see that? And so then I started asking a few questions, and, I think at the end of the night, I'm like, hey, you need to come out, talk to my manager, which is the COO, and let's just see what it can and can't do, and here we are a year later, and it's worked out very well so far.
Wow. So you're about a year into this project, or since you've kind of got this thing going?
Yes.
Awesome. So Austin, tell us a little bit about Click. What is that exactly, and how does that relate to what Jimmy's trying to do at Potter?
So Click is a business analyst tool. It takes a bunch of different data from a bunch of different data sources, marries it together, and then provides front-end visualizations on that said data. As he mentioned, Power BI is another competitor to Click. They both do some things: Power BI, Tableau, Click. All three of them are data analytics tools. So as far as what it does for Jimmy, he has multiple data sources for the time being. He uses About Time and Timberline. So it connects to the backend database of both About Time and Timberline, pulls the data in, and then I'm able to take these two different data sources, marry them together, and use data from both these different data sources to provide insights and things like that into what they're doing on a daily basis.
Wow. So you're essentially aggregating data from multiple systems and presenting it in a more meaningful way. Is that
correct?
Okay.
There's a lot simpler way of saying it.
Yeah, there is.
Well, so, if we're being honest, Jimmy, isn't that normally a little bit outside of the scope of what most subcontractors are doing today?
Absolutely. So, most subcontractors, we look at, you hear the word analytics, data analytics. And my first thought was, that's a number, that's going to cost some money. But at the same time, you got to think about, okay, what can it do for you as a subcontractor? Because subcontractors, a lot of them are small. There's some decent sized ones, but any area that you can cut costs and know where you're, if you will, winning, areas you're losing, it's a great insight on a daily basis to know how your business is doing. So subcontractors, man, I can't say it enough. You need a tool that you can dive deep into to see all your numbers. Because if you don't know whether you're winning or losing. On a daily basis. On a daily basis, you can make just better business decisions, and you see the train before it falls off the track.
Yeah, that's powerful. Very well stated. And I don't know if you've put a calculator of those numbers, or do you even know what kind of money you're talking? Even in general terms, how much do you think you've saved from implementing a system like this?
We talked about that, my manager and I. It's hard to put numbers on that right now, but I will tell you, it's being able to look at the Click dashboard and what Austin's done for us. It's going to be difficult, unless something catastrophic happens on a job site, to lose money.
Oh, I like that. I think any business should like to be able to make a statement like that, especially if they mean it and it's true.
Something I heard Noel say, I'm pretty sure it was last week. A lot of the data we're showing on this visualization is something that they used to get, but it was something that would take anywhere between 6 to a dozen accountants digging through their data to be able to provide the same type of information. And even then it was, in just an Excel format, it was just numbers, which is meaningful to someone who understands those numbers, but it's also hard to look at it and know right off the bat what's going on. As Jimmy always says, am I winning or losing?
Yeah.
So as far as a number savings, I guess you could say it's however much those accountant salaries are.
Those numbers change daily. So,
Right.
They might work on those numbers for a week. Well, by then you've already spent $10,000 in labor. So those numbers that you are supplying to those guys, It doesn't matter.
Old news.
Yeah, old news.
Wow. Yeah, that's, I mean, a common thing that we hear in construction, and I think just generally people, they're resistant to change. And, you know, you hear, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, or we've always done it this way. That's why we're still doing it this way. We're in business. We're still making money. What would you say to people that are making claims like that don't understand what you've been able to figure out here?
How do you know you're making money? Can you make more money? I mean, how can you make more money? You know, by something like Click, you know, being used with About Time, all of our numbers go through About Time. Okay, About Time has been so vital in this process, and to be able to see all of our units in panels and slab and soon to be rebar. I mean, you get a deep down, dirty view of, I mean, everything that you're making money on and everything that you're losing money on. I mean, we have a crew that works on a Saturday, you know, and it's a $6,000 day. Mm-hmm. Did you really have to work Saturday overtime? What'd that do for us? Was that a game changer, working extra day for $7,000, $6,000? So stuff like that. I mean, that's great data to have. And I can tell you what the guy did yesterday, how much you spent yesterday, who I spent it on. People don't have that information right now unless you go to accounting and you get it a week later.
So you're essentially, for those that don't know, so About Time's a mobile technology, works offline. It collects the time and the labor and the production. And so why would you say that is becoming such a valuable tool? And not just the software itself, but the process. What makes it so different than what you were doing before?
So we were doing time cards before. So time cards is labor intense. You know, you might have a few extra employees that you really didn't have. Anybody can manipulate the time. You know, the extra 2 or 3 hours here. My cousin needs 5 hours here this week and this and that, you know. Right. You know, ghost employees, and those things happen. It is what it is. So when we implemented About Time, we took away the ability for superintendents to be able to change time. We have one person that does that. That one person gets an approval from a COO or a VP to change that time. And so pretty much whatever they worked, they get paid for. You clock in at 9:37. It's not 9:45 or 9:30, 9:15. There's no 15-minute grace period. You get paid to the minute. And that's a big number when you have a company of 1,000 employees, you know. It's a big number of savings. We saved over $1 million the first year with About Time and just payroll.
Wow.
I mean, that's incredible. Yeah. And it goes back, even About Time, I'll say this. When we're looking at About Time, our first thought was, wow, that's a number. That's a big number, kind of like with Click's not as big as About Times, but we couldn't afford not to have About Time. Just the amount of money that we would save by, you know, if we're going to pay a guy who worked 40 hours, he worked 40 hours, not 42 hours, not 41 hours. So About Time has brought that to the table, and it's just been a game changer.
Yeah, I love that you addressed the issue up front, that really at the source, where the data is being collected, by who, and holding them accountable. And then with Austin's great work on the back end, he's taking all that manual calculation, tabulation, spreadsheet entry out of the mix and giving it back to you in a way you want to see it. So Austin, on your end of things, how have you felt the implementation of this new process that you guys have developed is going, and what are some of the lessons that you've learned in helping field adoption and the company enjoy the benefits of the work you put in?
The implementation has been super smooth. One of the problems I commonly run into is companies just want to go. They want everything yesterday. One of the things that I've just praised Potter and Jimmy and Noel for is validation. We've gone in there, we connected the database, brought all the data in, did the math on it, made sure that everything lined up, all the numbers looked right, made sure that everything was perfect from a data standpoint. And in that process, found some process flaws in how they were doing their time entry, how they were doing payroll, things like that, fixed those processes, and then slowly moved forward. And it's been invaluable being able to take it step by step, being able to validate things at every step of the way. It's going to make going forward that much simpler. So getting the initial setup was super important. And then now whenever we go add phase codes, when we add other data sources, we don't have to worry about, okay, is this data right? We know this data is right. Mm-hmm. So when I look at this number, I don't have to say, why is that number wrong? It's not. That number's right. So
yeah, we've done a lot of validation, a ton of validation to make sure everything is correct, because, when I rolled out About Time, it's a big rollout to a lot of people. And what I didn't want to have happen, a lot of times when companies roll out an application, they roll it out and get it all out there, and it's not fully complete, if you will, because, a lot of times IT departments got a thumb on them and we need to get as fast as possible. The problem with that is when things don't work correctly, you get a bunch of people shooting holes in it. Mm-hmm. And then you get a bunch of people saying, oh, that's junk software, it's not going to work. So with About Time, we rolled About Time out to a few superintendents, and they beta tested it for a few months. And we got more superintendents involved. So it's kind of what we did with Click. We validated to make sure everything is correct. Now, going forward, when we start adding equipment in through About Time, adding more data sources, through About Time and whatnot, it's going to make things go that much more cleaner, smoother, and I feel sorry for Austin because I beat that kid up with, are you sure? And this isn't right. And he's like, well, you're doing this wrong. I'm like, no, I'm not. Oh, wait, yeah, I am. So there's a lot of that, which is great. And we have that relationship that we can kind of banter back and forth. But the validation has been priceless, just priceless. He also built an app. I think it's in Click, where it validates weekly time, hours, and dollar amount with Timberline and About Time. And we can see if somebody added time into Timberline and not into About Time, and those numbers will be off. Mm-hmm. So that's a great validation for our owner, for VPs and COO, right? So pretty much goes back to, okay, if you're going to pay for 40, I want to make sure you can pay for 40. So all the time goes through About Time through Timberline. So when that validation is off, we know right away. So you can't get away with anything.
I can see if people put time into the wrong phase code. So if a superintendent clicks the wrong button and now they're putting their time into panels instead of the superintendent phase code, I can immediately say, hey, that time's not supposed to be there. Go back, fix it, and everything is married up. And as far as from a back-end data perspective, it's all clean and accurate.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is powerful. And it sounds, of course, Jimmy's field guys are collecting the data at the source. Sage 300 CRE, or the Timberline product, is the Bible, if you will, the master database. And because your About Time database and your Timberline or Sage database are integrated, you've got them sharing the same data set. But I love that middle piece that you've got other validation going on, making sure visually that people can keep things balanced out. So thought of a lot of holes, it sounds like, and plugged them.
Trying to. He's done a great job.
So with that, going back a little bit, Jimmy, are there any things on the rollout and implementation of this that you wish you would have done a little differently? And maybe also, what did you do that worked really, really well that others might be able to learn from?
So Austin and I talk about this all the time. what we wish we would have done better is knowing what question to ask. You know, that's a big, hey, why this and why that? And so that's a big one. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And then what did you think went really well or exceeded your expectations? Was awesome, was a good approach?
So exceeded my expectations. Being able to, I mean, we have a magnifying glass into every part of our data. I mean, I'm blown away at what Click can do for us. I'm still just amazed every time he says, "Oh, it can do this, it can do that." I look at him and I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" So, I mean, that's amazing in itself right there. So, hopefully, I answered your question.
Yeah, that's great. So between the two of you, it sounds like you've both been through similar projects with other systems. Jimmy, obviously, you learned how not to roll it out before you even started this, right? So that probably helped. Would you say that's accurate?
That's highly accurate. I've been at other companies where you roll things out and it's just you're having just chase your tail trying to fix things, and you knew what was going to happen when you rolled it out so fast, you know.
So speaking of that type of a rollout, what if you kind of look back and think of where this decision came from? Who made it? Did you make it? Was it your executives? Did they put you on a mission to go find something? How did the idea even come about to look for a solution like this?
So there was no mission, you know, nobody set me on a task to go find it. I have a money saving mindset. I mean, it's just what it is. I try and find ways to save money, you know, and it just happened. I mean, I happened to be at the right event and he's in the right kind of software, and my mind started going, and he knows how my mind is. My manager knows how my mind is. And I'm like, wow, this has got to be able to help us. So it just happened.
Click does a really good job. This I kind of wanted to bring a point back on what Jimmy was mentioning on knowing what question to ask. Click does, and data analytics in general, does a great job at answering questions and giving you more precise questions to ask. So when we first started this, if I could go back and change anything, the one thing I'd go back and change is finding out specifically what question they wanted answered. So when we first started it, we got in there, we looked at the data, found what data they had access to, kind of gave some stuff on what I could show, but didn't really have any guidance on what I was showing. So I would show them this, and then they would say, "Oh, that's cool, but can I do this?" And then we'd show them this, and then, "That's cool, but I really want to see it this way." Once they asked, am I winning or losing? That was the big question they asked. Once they asked that, it was off to the races. So that's where made it super easy to be able to see. When you first look at this dashboard, you can see a speedometer that has green, yellow, red. If your speedometer's in the green, you're doing good. If it's in the yellow, you might want to look into stuff. And if it's in the red, as Jimmy says, something wrong. So it does a really good job at answering questions. And then once you answer that question, am I winning or losing? If you're losing, it does an even better job at giving you reasons why. So the next thing that we would do is try to answer the questions. Why? Why am I losing? Where am I losing? Things like that. So then you can drill down and look and be able to see, like Jimmy was saying, did I spend $7,000 in overtime that I didn't need to spend? Did someone put their time in the wrong phase code? Are they moving money around? Was there 8 people on a job site and you only finished 2 panels? Why did you only finish 2 panels when you had this many people? It gives you more direct and specific questions to ask. And it just does a really good job at doing that. As my VP says, analytics is a feedback loop. You use analytics to find opportunities for process changes to boost performance. And then you use the analytics to see those performance boosts and then find other areas where you can become more efficient. So it's just a good way of giving an overview or an insight into that kind of information.
That's a good point. Be more efficient. Because last week we had a meeting with 5 superintendents, field superintendents, and they were kind of showing them, click and what it's doing for us, and why it's so important to enter the units in through about time. We create a form in about time to be able to enter units, and then they sync it daily and populates click. And so towards the end of the meeting, I'm like, look, this is a fabulous tool. It's going to make you a better superintendent. I mean, you're going to get up in the morning and you're going to look at your dashboard, because we're going to present it to them on their iPads, wherever they're at. They'll be able to see their speedometer. Are they red, yellow, green? The red areas, you're calling somebody. Our project managers, same thing. Why is this red? Pick the phone up, you're calling the superintendent. Hey, we're red on panels. Why is that? And if we keep going this way, we're going to lose $75,000. So, man, what a great tool to know whether you're going to lose money. And you're a week into the job, start of the job, and it's already trending for you. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So the about time and the click, the way they flow together and work, they were meant for each other.
Wow. Match made in heaven, huh?
Something cool else that has come out of this is, like Jimmy said, we're moving into equipment next. There's a ton that can be done in about time, and Jimmy's forgotten more about time than I know. But just in looking in the back-end database, I can see all these tables and I can see all these different fields that they're currently not taking advantage of. But it's other things that they can use. Things like the form. We built that form, and that was something that existed that we were unaware of, or that Jimmy was unaware of from the beginning. So in doing this, he's also doing more in about time and utilizing their existing software more to give more data to get more insights. So that's again where that feedback loop is. So it's what can I do to get better visibility into my day-to-day business without actually having to go out to the job site and physically look at what's going on.
Austin, so talk about the face confirmation, actually the geofencing that I tasked you to do. We have a girl that does face confirmation and geofencing, kind of like tracks guys if they're clocking outside the geofence or inside or whatever. So there's some great reports in about time that she's been utilizing for 6-8 months. And so I'm like, hey, can you pull that data from about time? Of course, he goes through his big long detail. I can do this. Let me pull this. I'm like, just do it.
Get it done.
He's working on a dashboard for her that's going to pull all that information. It's going to be.
So right now, back to that validation app that Jimmy was talking about. Right now, all it does is it looks at Timberline and about time and says whether or not the hours match, which is huge, as Jimmy says. But along with that, everything needs checks and balances. So things like that geofencing. About time does a great job at being able to see that information, and it's super valuable information. But it takes a second to go through all of those different entries, being able to find which ones are within a certain range, which ones are outside a certain range. And I have the ability to see their home address as well as the address of the job site. And then I can take the address that they clocked in at, or the coordinates. And then I can say, okay, I have this coordinate that they clocked in at. I have the coordinate of the job site, and I have the coordinate of their home address. Now give me the difference between all of those. So I can tell you, okay, they clocked away 5 miles away from the job site, but they clocked away half a mile from their house. So just right off the bat, I can tell you who's not clocking in from their job site. And if they aren't, how close are they clocking into at home to their home address that they have in Timberline? Again, that's address that's not in about time. It's data that's in Timberline, and utilize that with what about time's doing to be able to give more insight into that data and make it quicker to see. So all of the people are at the top. So instead of having to go through everybody, she just clicks, okay, I want to see people that are clocking in greater than X distance away, greater than 5 miles away. Now she has a condensed list of people she needs to look at. So it's a better use of her time. And then, yeah.
So the end result of that is, okay, why are you doing that? I don't want to pay you an extra 30 minutes there. And oh, by the way, when they get home, then they clock out. So we're able to see that data through about time. So that's an hour a day for one employee. How many people are doing that? That's a big number at the end of the year. And that's information that About Time gives us, and Click just compiles it and gives us what we need to see.
Yeah, About Time is super, super awesome. And a lot of the stuff that I've seen from About Time, it collects great data, and you can never have enough data. But the problem with having as much data as we're given is we don't necessarily have a tool to see it easily. And that's where Click comes in. A lot of people say, okay, they'll see this use case and they'll say, okay, well, I don't necessarily have the same type of situation that Potter or Jimmy has. It's not going to be useful for me. That's not the case. I mean, I use Click at home to do my own budget. This is a specific use case, but anywhere there is data, something like Click is really good at showing that data in a different, more efficient way and making it interactive.
You got to have somebody like Austin and to know how to present it.
Yeah, well, that's great. We both know Jimmy in construction, and obviously Austin through your affiliations. Information is king on everything. I mean, that's what we're really managers in construction. We're just managing data results. One of the things, going back a little bit, Jimmy, that you said that I thought was really powerful and impactful was how you empowered a superintendent to utilize the mobile app. This is going to make you a better super. I think that's what a lot of companies seem to be missing out on, where they are focusing so much on their money savings or budget savings or profitability for the business, and not necessarily highlighting how it can really make the individual employee's life easier by leveraging those tools. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree on that. And I'll give you an example of that same meeting last week. One of our better superintendents, at the end of the meeting, he said, I've been waiting for something like this for so long. Mm-hmm. It's gonna make him a better superintendent, more efficient. He's gonna be able to manage his job a lot easier. And at the end of the day, everybody's gonna make more money. And that's great for the company, great for the superintendent, great for me, great for Austin, great for About Time.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. I mean, it's a good deal, man. It's a great tool.
That's powerful. So one other last thing I wanted to ask, how important do you think was buy-in from the top down, Jimmy, in your company's case?
The importance of so we're subcontractors, just a bunch of good old boys that have done things a certain way for a long time. But I will tell you, the men that I work with, they're very open as far as, okay, like my manager, Noel Knowles, he's like, if the numbers make sense, we got to do it. And it's a great mindset, because a lot of people are just like, I'm out at a certain price, $100K, $50,000, can't do that. But if you just break even, I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? So the numbers make sense. Let's do it. And so that's kind of what we did in the beginning. And that's why Austin came out and kind of presented. And here's what it can do, is what it could potentially do for us in the future. Once that happened, wheels up, let's get it going. So the buy-in was, Austin, would you agree from the beginning? It was pretty.
Oh yeah.
Pretty well, 100%.
Yeah. The buy-in was 100%. The way we always say it is we have to have a champion in any project, especially something like this. You've got to have a champion. You got to have someone that's invested. You got to have somebody that understands the data and understands the benefits of seeing the data a certain way. Noel, Jimmy, everybody's been just super invested from the get-go, and I could easily say that they're both huge champions for it. And yeah, it's super important to have somebody there that's willing and wants to see that data and wants to see it succeed.
Yeah, and you got to know what technology can do for you. A lot of people are just against technology, especially in construction industry. But if you go, Mike, as well as I do, on any job site nowadays, a job site is full of technology. Mm-hmm. I mean, wireless, mobile. I mean, we have big jobs where we have, job trailers, and we have wireless, we have servers out there. I mean, it's incredible. It's pretty much a remote office, and guys are on the 13th floor and they get their iPads looking at plans. I mean, changes happen and they get it like that. I mean, you have to have technology to be able to run with the big boys.
Mm-hmm. It's a better way to build better buildings. For sure.
I like that.
I've never heard that before.
I like that.
I just made it up. I haven't heard either.
Wow.
She's going to advertising.
That's it. Man, lots of great information and insights on this discussion, no question. Austin, if there's a listener out there that's in a construction business and they're looking to get access to aggregated data like you're providing for Jimmy, how's the best way to get them in touch with you and see if you can help them as well?
They can either reach out to me via email. It's going to be Chiapuzio, ACHIAP as in Paul, UZ as in zebra, IO @flaredata.com. Or you can just go to flaredata.com/analytics. And I believe they have a contact us somewhere on there. But those would be probably the two best ways.
Perfect. That's awesome. Well, just in kind of wrapping up this awesome conversation, Jimmy, if you could look back, is there one thing in your career that really you felt was a strength of yours that served you well, kind of a hack or a superpower, whatever you want to call it?
You got to be open-minded to everything, to all technologies. If you're just straight-laced and you got tunnel vision, you're not going to be successful. That's all there is to it. You got to be open-minded to every piece of software, every idea that that people bring to you, and just see what it can do. I mean,
I love that, and I in listening to you describe how your business and your company and your coworkers seem to approach things. It sounds like you're a learning organization at Potter Concrete, which those words don't usually go together when you're talking about a construction company.
Oh, I mean, our guys, they embrace it kind of like, let's just see what happens. But once we prove the concept, they're on board, man. And we get everybody's ready to go, man. we got to tap the brakes a little bit because they want it so fast, right?
There's been several times I sit there and start talking and get off and get excited and love those conversations. And then Noel's like, all right, but wait. Not yet. Yeah. It's great.
People see the benefit of it and they want it now. And because they know what it's going to do for not just them. I mean, for the company to manage their people. I mean, we have, superintendents that have a very large crew on a job, and it makes their job easier. It's going to. And we're just scratching the surface of what we want to do with it. So, I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, if you're saving over $1 million in payroll in the first year, and that's just the surface, boy, you're in a good place.
Yeah.
So what about you, Austin? What's your hack or your kind of your superpower, if there is one?
Numbers, I guess, would be mine. In college, I took math classes for fun. I like numbers. I like logic. That would be probably my biggest superpower and my biggest downfall. So,
okay.
So here's what, let me throw this out there, Mike. So here's one thing with a few weeks ago, my manager, Noel, after a meeting with Austin, we were looking at, okay, we need to add burden into the numbers, and that way we have a true number and this and that. And so Austin's talking about burden and some accounting lingo. Well, I know the numbskull, so I know what he talks about and this and that, you know. So Noel calls me afterwards on the way home. He's like, got a question for you. I'm like, yeah. He goes, Austin's a great guy. He goes, but how does he know all that accounting lingo? Like, I said, oh, he went to UT Austin. He's a CPA. He's like, that makes sense. So not only does he have the analytics, but he has the accounting side, which you talk about so valuable. Oh my gosh. I mean, he can get in a timberline and do what he needs to do. And it's phenomenal. You kill two birds with one stone. But I wish he'd kind of trim the beard up a little bit though.
Yeah, my wife says the same thing.
I'm kidding.
Well, what I'm hearing, Jimmy, is you're saying it's not just the what, but the why and the how that Austin really brings to the table, which is, boy, what a winning 1-2 combination.
Yeah, he's done a great job for us, and good kid. I love him.
That's awesome. Well, that's important, the personal and the relationship side of your vendors, you know, having that relationship. I know, Jimmy, you and I don't know each other real well, but we hit it off real well. And I knew immediately, man, we got to have you on the podcast because this has been a fun conversation.
It has been good. It has been good. And the product's been fabulous.
Well, we appreciate that. And I guess just to wrap up, Jimmy, what, I guess if you made a mistake in business or just in your career, what's one thing you wish you could kind of go back that you know now and kind of redo? Is there anything that stands out in mind? You can help others avoid that pitfall?
I'm real big on doing my due diligence as far as research. And sometimes there are times where you kind of get rushed. And sometimes you kind of miss a few things here and there. Like we've done with this project, tap the brakes, slow down, do due diligence and research, validate stuff. I mean, the validation has been huge to me. Just a validation mindset, not just in Click, but everything in general. I mean, that's been key to me. And that's the validation through Click is helped out with payroll in about time, a few other areas in the IT department. So I've taken validation pretty seriously over the past year.
That's great. Well,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. And very much have enjoyed this conversation, both with you, Jimmy, and Austin. Appreciate you joining us today and looking forward to many years of working together in the future.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you like the conversation that Jimmy and Austin and I had today, or learned anything new or helpful in your business, please give us a follow at Instagram at WorkMax_ and subscribe to the show on iTunes or your preferred podcast platform so you don't miss another insightful episode. Also, if you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps us bring these valuable conversations with other folks to you and your organizations to help you improve in business and in life.